A week.
Hello, welcome to the program. Ahead, selling the new News Corp to investors despite the challenges facing publishing. 10 CEO on a new strategy and his hopes for the 5th season of MasterChef. And the US shows that Australian TV programmers have their eyes on. But first, billionaire businessman Kerry Stokes has made another management change. Don Volti will become CEO of the mining and media conglomerate Seven Group when he hands over to Tim Warner at Seven West Media at the start of July. Seven Group has a 35% stake in Seven West. For all the details, we're joined by our co-host, James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. James, just looking at this announcement there and the fact that Peter Gamble is stepping aside, what do you make of this, and what does it sort of say about, succession too for Kerry Stokes?
Well, there's been a bit of speculation around for a while that Peter Gamble would go on to do something else. Look, he doesn't seem to be leaving the business. Kerry Stokes, look, isn't going anywhere. Really doesn't change, I don't think, what people were expecting of succession. That's still still undecided what will happen there, but Kerry Stokes still very much in control. Peter Gamble, staying. It's interesting what he might get to do now, saying, look, it's the time for the next step in my journey with Kerry Stokes. Kerry Stokes saying he'll go into a strategy and business development role, so maybe there'll be some new business there.
And in terms of Don Volti heading up Seven Group, will there be much change for Seven West?
No, but Don's going to move in as Deputy Chairman of Seven West Media, so they'll keep the expertise he's sort of been getting there over recent times. And of course, Kerry Stokes is Chairman of Seven West Media, so yeah, no, I don't think there's a lot of impact there.
All right, let's just turn now to the new logo for the new News Corp, which was unveiled to investors this week ahead of the split of the publishing business from the entertainment assets at the end of next month. James, just on this, firstly the new logo unveiled there for the new News Corp, and this was based on the handwriting of Rupert Murdoch.
I guess there's not a lot to read into that, but what it does say is, the continued importance of Rupert Murdoch in the business. They've used his sort of script, if you like, to base the logo on, and the fact that he's going to be chairman of one of the businesses and CEO of the other. He will still have a very firm grip and putting his stamp on the business.
Just looking at the company as well, and what Rupert Murdoch had to say at the Investor Day, there was a lot of talk about the history of the News Corp company that he started obviously 60 years ago, even admitting to making a few mistakes along the way.
Sure, yeah, he did, and it's going to be for people who don't know a lot about the Australian business is going to count for just over a third of the revenue, so they need to get up to speed on that. So, and the history is, as you said, it started in Adelaide and then just branched out, went around the world, went to the UK, branched out to the US. So it's very important for them to get a bit of a grip on the importance of the Australian offerings to the business these days.
All right, let's have a little listen to what Rupert Murdoch had to say at that Investor Day.
So given that success story, you may be wondering why I want to do it all over again. The simple answer, there is opportunity everywhere. The companies that make up the new News Corp are some of the most extraordinary and brilliant brands in the world. Yes, some certainly have challenges, but they are undervalued and underdeveloped.
So Rupert Murdoch speaking there, and we also, of course, heard too from Robert Thompson, who's going to be the incoming CEO of the company, talking about the future for it and the performance, and even admitting, obviously, that there are challenges, saying that they're not naive about the challenges. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
We're certainly not naive about the challenges facing some of our newspapers. The advertising market has been volatile, and print sales have certainly declined in Australia, in part because our team has been removing what are politely called lower-yielding copies. We are in the midst of a transformation of those businesses. Costs are being confronted and cut, and the mastheads are being reoriented. That transformation will take longer than a couple of quarters.
James, earlier this month, News Corp did say it's going to write down the publishing business by $1.4 billion, up to $1.4 billion in the June quarter. Did investors get enough from the company about the performance of the news sectors within the new News Corp?
No, you'd like to think there's probably still a bit of information to come. I mean, they did get a lot of information to digest, and it took about 4.5 hours to get through it all. There was a presentation that ran for about 150 odd fairly information-packed slides, but there was the financial data was mostly stuff I think that's already been out there in the public domain. There wasn't critical sort of breakdowns of the performance, I guess in particular of the Australian newspapers, I guess the UK newspapers, what they're doing. A lot of people are looking for some of that. I guess you can understand they probably don't want to release some of that until they have to, perhaps because a lot of their competitors are going to be all over those figures and pointing out, gee whiz, some of these maybe aren't so great. You know, parts of the company do well, other parts of the company are carried along by the parts that do well. So there's a fair bit of detail to come out there.
What are the key pieces of the revenue puzzle for News Corp?
Well, as I said, look, Australia's just over a third. The US is about 40%, and the rest comes from Europe and a little bit, not much, from other parts of the world. But it's going to be quite reliant on ad revenue. About 52% of all revenue is advertising. So it's going to, you know, these swings in the advertising market will have an impact on the dollars here. Among the interesting things, there's a magazine in America called Smart Source magazine. You know, it was good getting this detail on all different parts. It's a magazine people love to put out. It's all advertising, no editorial at all, but it's a coupon play, so it does very well. Lots of potential there for things like that. And there was just lots of little bits and pieces that go to make up the whole that were good to get some detail on.
And there were some interesting comments too from the boss of the Australian operations, Kim Williams, talking about the current environment here in Australia. Sure,
yeah. Look, he talked about consumer and business caution. He linked that to the political climate here, so there's a bit of confusion over that. And certainly when he mentioned the revenue challenges.
All right, let's find out what the markets thought now for a check on the media sector's performance on the share market this week. We're joined by Evan Lucas from IG. Evan, good to see you there. Yeah, what did you make of the News Corp Investor Day?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting sort of week. As James just sort of alluded to, it's coming back to how they're going to do the split post that June 28th cut-off. They're looking at doing a split of roughly around about 1 share for every 4 shares you hold in the News Corp currently. And the issue that comes with it is that there is an anticipated write-down in terms of where the shares will be and the current sort of value of the business itself. They're looking at roughly writing down about $1.2 billion of the entire independent arm, and that is causing a little bit of jitters post the date. But in saying that, it's been all about basically the Aussie dollar, US dollar, and the trade that you get out of the current situation with News Corp. They have really been moving up on that Aussie dollar and the value you get there, and as it started to slide this week, it gave it an additional pop as those sort of news came through. So it's been a bit of a volatile week with regards to how News Corp is sitting. Today, we're obviously seeing the Aussie dollar pop back up, and it's pushed News Corp down quite hard. They're off about 3% as it starts to find itself as a roof, and a lot of brokers are starting to call it as a sell as they believe it's fully valued and probably time to take some profit.
Just turning to some of the other media companies as well, 10 network shares did really well this week. There's been a lot of reports about. Can you just take us through some of the moves in the local broadcasters?
Yeah, 10's been an interesting one. I think part of the reason it may have popped, it did hit a year-to-date low. It hit 25 cents at the start of the week and really did see some jumping in. And probably the rumour for it was the fact that there now is a definite bid on the table for the cricket rights. We're also seeing and hearing word that Southern Cross Media is also starting to move away from a possible split from 10 as their current programming does look to be picking up. MasterChef comes online this weekend. Offspring's already there, and we've got the British Lions, and we now know that they've got the Winter Olympics. If they do beat 9 with regards to the cricket, it's another big pickup. It is the Ashes season, and that's going to be good for them. It has actually spooked 9 so much that Apollo and also Crabtree are coming over to talk about buying up Bruce Gordon's WIN program. And with regards to the Adelaide and also the Perth assets, they've come over today. They're in Sydney as we speak with regards to how they're going to do that, because WIN isn't looking at taking up any form of additional cost that would come with the cricket rights. So it has spooked 9. They do obviously have their last right of refusal, but it has spooked 9 to maybe actually move on this. And that's probably why you're seeing 10 pop up this morning.
All right, Evan, thanks for the update.
Thanks, Brady.
Let's return to Mediaweek's James Manning now with more developments, well, particularly in the publishing side of the media industry. Two developments at the Australian newspapers, MX becoming a national brand via a smartphone app.
Yeah, they put out a smartphone app because at the moment it's just, well, not just, but it is a commuter daily along the east coast in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. They sort of centralise it a little bit out, base it out of Melbourne, but they have editorial teams in each of the other markets. Comes out for the commuters, published late morning, early afternoon. They get it out. It's going into new markets, but an iPhone app gives sort of a national footprint, if you like, so commuters anywhere can jump on and get their news.
Looking at the Adelaide Sunday Mail, it's getting a new look that David Penberthy's been looking
David
over.
Penberthy took over as editor probably a month, 8 weeks ago, something like that, and it's been given a bit of a refresh. He's been talking a little bit about it this week. He said, look, it's taken them a little bit longer perhaps than they thought it would be. It was a little bit trickier than he first expected, but that'll be sort of showed off to the Adelaide on South Australian readers on Sunday, June 2.
And looking at The Guardian, it's launched the Australian online edition. What's sort of been the reaction to it? What are the offerings?
To be honest, a lot of people have said they've been a little bit underwhelmed. I think they're probably calling this a soft launch. They just want to get it out there, then they'll fine-tune the offering. They've picked up a couple of decent editorial stories that have been picked up elsewhere this week, so they're making some moves. They've got an online readership survey at the moment, so they want to get some initial feedback from the early adopters, if you like. Then they'll probably tweak it before they start promoting it more heavily.
All right, lots more to talk with you about, James. We're going to take a very quick break here on Media Week. Coming up, high hopes for ratings as 10 launches the 5th season of MasterChef in Melbourne.